My man Stuart,
Sir.
loved our conversation in today's podcast. Not only did we talk about how you are wrong about most things and how I am not,
Mm.
but we also talked about roles. We talked about identity. We talked about these things that if you're not intentional with them, very easy to get lost.
I don't know if we hit on the subject of me being wrong all the time, but it is a really good conversation. We referenced a TED Talk that we watched that was awesome, that everyone should definitely go watch. And we end with an opportunity to do really your own life audit. And we have a free resource. Listen for that. There's a way to get that. And check it out. Fun conversation. David, you're wrong. I'm right. Go listen. You'll be better for it.
For sure. And be looking for download this free resource that we're going to give you. Be looking for a webinar to discuss in greater detail our roles and using this resource. It's going to be amazing. Can't wait. Go give it a listen.
Go.
You're listening to Filling the Storehouse podcast. I'm David.
And I'm Stuart. And we want to walk with you on the journey to living the abundant life through faith, family, and freedom. Our goal is to refine our why while helping you find yours. Together, achieve our best and highest purpose. In the end, we'll drive each other to intentionally fill our storehouse. Hey, buddy.
What's up, my man? Hey, man, we gotta make this. I think it's gonna be hugely impactful. It's gonna be great. Let's make it quick because I'm having a cleanse day,
Yeah.
which causes my bladder to be in a state of continuous and constant fullness.
Overactiveness.
You can relate, right? The cleanse day that you did recently.
Yeah. Mm.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a while ago. Back in the day.
Back back in the day, and if I remember correctly, you did that one back in the day,
Yeah, I have been
but then you
doing
crushed like pizza for dinner or something. I don't know. I remember that very vividly.
I have been doing more of the intermittent fasting where I don't
That's
eat
good.
until like 9, 10 o'clock, to shorten my clock, my
That's
food
good.
clock. We
That's
had
good.
Alex Racy come and talk to us at our last Storehouse Mastermind retreat, and it's pretty impactful. It was good, man, and I've noticed a difference. It's been awesome,
That's good. No,
but that's not what we're talking about
I
today.
appreciate that. No, I got a question for you.
Yep.
Do this. I was thinking about this as we're jumping into our topic. Say and just be honest. I'm not trying to set you up. Say I'm wrong. I'm often wrong. Say that.
I'm often wrong.
To me, that elicits no emotion. Did it elicit emotion to you to say I'm often wrong? Like just now.
No, but I
Oh,
think that
wait. I'm not done.
okay. All right.
Yes or no?
No.
No. Okay, Stu, you are wrong in the way that you're doing your cleanse. You're
Mm,
wrong. Does
that
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 elicit a different emotion?
it does
Like immediately, right?
immediately. Yeah,
I,
because
I, was,
you're
I
calling
was
me out.
thinking through that. Like for myself, I was like picturing somebody telling me, like me saying I'm wrong. I do it all the time. But then I'm picturing somebody saying you're wrong. And it just in my own head, imagining somebody telling me I'm wrong elicits a feeling that is very tangible. Like
Yeah.
it, and it's immediate, and I don't like it.
I wonder how our kids feel when we tell them that they're wrong, and we tell them no all the time. At least my son told me recently that I say no to him too much. That's kind of a form of telling him that he's wrong, right?
Mm.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is in what's also interesting to me, and I don't know if this topic is just not popular or like I found I put a TED talk out on the socials, and one that but it was Catherine Schultz, and it was I think it's called On Being Wrong.
Did you post
17
it? Did you
minutes.
post it on the socials? I
I
think you just
did.
sent it to
I
me.
No, I posted it recently.
Oh,
As we were talking about this, I posted it and said, "Hey, if you're never wrong or something, don't worry about watching this." But what's interesting to me is zero engagement, very little response, and I think people genuinely dislike this topic, and I found it absolutely fascinating, and I loved the TED Talk. Uh, but it was so, and you took 5 pages of notes
yeah, I
on
went down
not
a
only
rabbit
the
hole.
TED Talk, But and that correlation between that and the book that you're reading and that I had read not too long ago, Think Like a Monk. And dude, the level of intentionality, but even more importantly, the level of self-awareness fascinates me.
Yeah.
But I also, that's what I love about not only this TED Talk and this topic, but Think Like a Monk as well. Like a lot of the stuff in there, it touches on just this piece of understanding why we think and talk and act the way we do. And it requires a lot of effort.
For sure.
Self-awareness requires effort.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot wrapped up in our identity. Right. And it's interesting because Catherine talked about like this idea of being wrong. And just like you just pointed out, like we're okay with admitting to ourselves that we're wrong, but when someone else calls you out for being wrong, like that's the fear, right? That's the fear of being wrong, is when it becomes like a feeling or an emotion, or it's embarrassing. And oftentimes like there, and she went into kind of some of the points that she's, back in history of major decisions where it like it was wrong, like it was a bad choice. And high up leaders never admitted, like wouldn't admit that they were wrong because of that emotion and that feeling on being wrong. But dude, like we're humans, right? And we were made to be wrong every now and then. Like being wrong is going to happen. So it's interesting that we have a hard time being wrong, but it's going to happen.
When I like how she also the way she described, and she did it pretty creatively. She did it with the Roadrunner
Yeah.
story. But it's not, because we all will readily admit, like we all are very comfortable. Well, most people are very comfortable with acknowledging the fact that everybody makes mistakes. Like that dude, that's ubiquitous, right? Across the board,
Yeah.
everybody says, "Oh, everybody makes mistakes. Oh, my bad.
I'll learn
Uh,
from my mistakes.
I'll learn from my mistakes." And but that's not the key. It's not recognizing that everybody makes mistakes. And it's not even, as entrepreneurs, the mistakes are what oftentimes lead to the greatest breakthroughs, the most impactful businesses, the most important things come out of it. Doesn't, for the vast majority, 99, like I cannot think of an example of somebody that just like went out on their first time trying a thing and it was just bam, amazing the next day. Like I just can't think of a single one, but I could give you a list of people who started businesses and they failed, and then they started another and they failed. They took all these lessons learned and turned it into something amazing, right? And so it's not we don't we don't appreciate, the as you said, the emotion of it. We don't appreciate the true feeling. We don't appreciate in ourselves being wrong. And it's just such a fascinating conversation because as you said, and as she highlights, it's not even the acknowledgement or the knowledge of wrongness. It's how we feel about it and then what that causes us to do and where that takes us. And they're pretty dark places.
Yeah.
There's pretty dark places, and you can see it all around us, right? You can see it in everything from politics to religion to just to business to whatever it is. And when you boil it down, it's, and we'll talk about these later, but there's these assumptions that we make about people who disagree with us and wrongness, and being wrong. There's assumptions that we make because we're unwilling to just accept and acknowledge the emotion of just being wrong. Like, oh, yep, that opinion was, I was wrong. Like that
Yeah.
that was wrong. You are right. And how that feels is so bad for most of us that we're unwilling to go there, which causes us to probably experience significant more amount of pain, significant more amount of just of struggle than would be required if we were able to just acknowledge, accept that those emotions and move on, move forward, because we can do that, right? We have a choice in how we respond to this stuff. We absolutely have a choice. We just often choose wrongly because of these emotions.
Yeah. It's interesting. She was also talking about how we love hearing stories, about being wrong. And we love hearing, like, the comeback story. I was wrong at first, and then the hero's journey. I went through this, challenge, or I chose a wrong path, and I came back and I came through it, and I conquered the wrongness, if you will. But back to your point, like, we don't like being called out for being wrong, and there's an emotion tied to that. And we immediately go to like these three assumptions, and none of them are good.
No, let's talk about them real quick because
Yeah,
I think it's important.
yeah. So we have a bias. We all have a bias and an identity based off of how we were raised, our experiences, what we read, what we listen to, what our parents say to us at the dinner table. All these ideas and these feelings and emotions and this bias is in going in one direction. But what we rarely like think about, this critical thinking step that we also kind of hit on pretty hardly. Well, other people have different biases. Other people have a different upbringing, and they listen to different things, and they read different books. And just because they don't agree with your stance doesn't mean that they're wrong. It's just different, right? And so,
Well, and even more to the point is they could be right.
true.
You just have not exposed yourself to the full data that enables you to make a truly educated uh, opinion or whatever,
Yeah.
to have a truly enlightened stance, because you just simply have not been you've not been exposed to other truth, right? And before we get into the assumptions, it's interesting because, and I think she concluded the talk by saying something along the lines of like, that's a great place to start. Just to accept that the idea that you may be wrong.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of power in that, because when you go into a conversation with somebody, if you already are so strongly on the side that you assume you're right, it shuts your ears and it makes things binary. This world is not binary. Like, look outside, look around. There's nothing binary about the world from a on off perspective.
Yeah.
And so there's a very high chance, I would say 100% chance, that you do not have a full grasp of what it is that you believe is the truth.
Yeah.
Like, you just don't have a full grasp. And I would even argue that that goes for everything in your life. Everything.
Yeah. Yeah. She
You
says,
don't even know yourself well,
yeah.
potentially, unless you spent constant effort and time even understanding why you do what you do, right? And this is not like, this isn't me. I mean, this is you find these examples in the Bible, you find these examples across society, and the chances are you are probably the chances are better that you're wrong than that you're right, that you have the full story. And it's just a very interesting place on why we're so passionate that we're right, when the the deck the cards are stacked in a way that most likely you're not right, most likely you're wrong, or at least you are. I think it was The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F-bomb. I think in that book he talks at one point about just embracing the fact, like, it's good to be wrong. It's good to be in a state of recognizing that you don't have the full truth, because now you have opportunity for growth, and that growth will be continuous. Even if you're, I think about faith. We love Jesus, right? And we are very secure in our faith, but to presume that we understand the everything that is entailed in a being that we believe is almighty, omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, to think that we can actually even begin to conceptualize that being is not only wrong, but it's a complete disservice to what our faith is in, right? So even like something like that we're so secure in, when you really dig into it, like, how secure are you truly? And finding those areas that you're not in everything helps you grow. In your business, the areas that you don't fully understand that you could optimize is good. Like, it's really good to do that instead of continue on in ignorance and doing the same old thing and getting the same old result, which we are comfortable with, which is fascinating to me.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, she says this, you got to step out of rightness and maybe just say, I don't know, or maybe I'm wrong. But the assumptions. So these assumptions uh, keep us in fear of being wrong because we assume three things about people if they have a different opinion. We either assume that they're ignorant.
So let's dive into that before we get
Yeah,
into the other one.
yeah,
So just think about that for a second. If someone disagrees with you, one of your option, there's three of them. One of your options is just to assume they're ignorant. Like, you don't agree with me, therefore you are dumb. Like, dude, that's crazy.
but people go there like
All the time.
all the time.
You don't agree with the stance I have, most likely a stance that I've not spent significant, substantial time, like say politics. I've not spent a ton of time digging into this. You disagree with me, therefore you are just
You're
you're
not
ignorant.
smart.
You don't know the truth. It's
Yeah,
not that not smart. That's the next one. It's just you just don't know. You have not been. You do not have access to the same information I have. So you're just ignorant. You just don't have all the data I have. So you're just ignorant to it.
yeah, yeah.
That's a
It's a
that's a bad place to be in
bad
life,
place
man.
to be. The next one's even worse. You're an idiot.
Yeah. Yep. I acknowledge that you
Idiocy
have the
assumption.
same set of data. I acknowledge that we both have read the same books, and just the fact that you drew different conclusions, you're just stupid. You're just
Yeah.
dumb. That
I
that's
mean,
that's it. You don't agree,
I feel that way about you quite often, but
which is why you live in fear of me, and why you're so wrong. You're on the scale of wrongness. It's just wrong
mm,
because everybody now is that disagrees with you is stupid. Like that is again when you talk about how crazy this is. There are people that have doctorates in these topics that we disagree on. And we're in an interesting place where we can't just acknowledge that, huh, that there's, you may be, you have a really good point there. I've not considered that because my bias is so strong. I just have not considered that. But until we get to that point, that's a great place to be. But we can't get there because we just fall into this thing talking to somebody who's clearly a very smart individual, clearly has spent a lot of time studying these things. You're just stupid. That's why you disagree with me, because you're just stupid.
yeah.
That's crazy, dude.
Again, happens pretty regularly. But the last one's the worst. The evil assumption. Basically, you have the same information, but you're just evil and you're
Yeah.
trying to be a bad person. Like, oof, that's tough, man.
But it's so real, dude.
So
Like it is
real.
so like we have gone there, from in this in the one that just to me is so mind-boggling. Like I just cannot relate with these people on either side is in politics.
Yeah.
Like how you it is so common now to look at the other side and just be like, you guys are just evil.
Yeah.
Like, that is my conclusion. We will never agree on the way this country should go because you're evil. And that's it. Like the argument's done. Like there's how do you argue that? How do you come back from that?
Yeah.
Well, you're just evil. Really? That it is again, it is crazy to me that we make these assumptions and you can see them everywhere and when you name them and when you're aware of it, you're able to spot it in everything. Dude, we're in the midst of election season, right? It's
Yeah.
end of October, so next
Yeah.
month. Dude,
Yeah.
have you watched any of these ads?
I've
Have you
chosen
have
not to. No.
Yeah, and I don't actively seek them out. It's more like yesterday for I guess Florida still thinks I'm a resident. So dude, I got a stack just from Ron DeSantis. Just from him, a stack like that big in my mailbox yesterday. And then his opponents and again, I don't care about quite frankly, I just don't I'm not a Florida resident. Like I just don't care.
Yeah.
But that being said, I just took a quick look, and dude, it is completely like they basically have demonize the other side. But both sides do it, right? And they
Sure.
don't no longer talk about an issue. It's just about the person,
Yeah.
how evil this person is, and what a bad person. And if you vote for them, you too are evil. It's crazy. Binary, dude. It's
It is, man.
binary.
Yeah.
Good, evil. If you don't vote for me, by default, you are an evil person.
Well, and this got me kind of going down the rabbit hole. I was like, woke up at like 4 a.m. one morning. I watched the TikTok again, and then I was in the middle of reading "Think Like a Monk" by Jay Shetty, which is really, really good. I highly recommend it. And he has a whole chapter on identity, and it fits right in there, man. Like, this bias of how we think of ourselves and how we grew up. Like, we have an identity, but it's interesting. Our identity a lot of times is based on what we think others think of us. It's not how what we think of us, it's what we think others think of us. And we like try to, operate based off of how we think others think of us. And so if we see, if a value is, let's say wealth, if we see wealth as success, well, what are we going to do? We're going to choose wealth, and we're going to try to impress others by our wealth that we gain. And so, it's interesting how we like operate our daily lives based off of what we think others think of us. But that's not like true north, you know.
When it's crazy because when you dig into that, right? It's not even what people think about you, as if that were the most important thing. It's what you think other people think about you. So
Yeah,
there's so many levels of bias in that onion,
yeah,
right? It's not even based in truth. It's assumptions that you're making based on whatever. It's how you think other people think about you. Like that, there's so much room for error in that. And again, I say error as if what other people think is even the standard. Like who cares, right? But and I forget, Rick Warren says is one of my favorite things. He says we buy things we don't need to impress people that we don't care about. I don't remember the
yeah,
whole thing, but it goes to the point of we do these things and we don't even really necessarily, one, we don't know, they don't have a lot of importance, but two, when you really dig into it, you realize, wow, that is like, it's just not important. It just doesn't matter.
yeah,
And you and I actually had a really good conversation recently. It was very formative for me. And we were talking about in the mastermind to let's solicit additional feedback from the current members and let's to help us kind of as we're continuing to formulate what things should look like and how things should be, the strategic vision, all these things. And then we came to a point where like, you know what, dude, what do we want? What is the thing that we're trying to do with the mastermind? What kind of men do we want to become? And what kind of men do we want to be surrounded by? And what kind of men do we want to all lift each other up to be? That's the vision. That's
yeah,
what's important. And that you can be informed, other people can inform that. But two things. One, if that's not who you want to be, then I don't want you in the group. Like it's not beneficial for you or me, right? If you don't have some aspirations to be better. So one, I don't, that's inconsequential. But two, that's the whole point of the vision. That's the whole point of being who we want to become. It's who I want to become. It's not who my mom wants me to become, or Stu wants me to become, or my dad wants me to become. That I get no joy in that.
yeah,
It's who do I want to become? Who do I believe that God created me to be? And how do I get to be that person?
yeah,
All based on not, and the other part of that is if you ask 10 people, very, very likely you're going to get 10 different opinions. So how are you going to, what are you going to do?
yeah.
What
Why?
action do you take on 10 opinions that may be vastly different?
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
no vision.
Jay says in the book, he says unconsciously we are like acting to some degree. We have this persona that we think we are, and this role that we're playing at work or with friends or online or at home or in social media, and we're all acting to some degree because we're living these lives based off of what we think others think of us, even at the expense of some of our own like true like values, like the ones that we truly live by and act by. Oftentimes we go outside of those values to act in a way that we think others will think of us. And so it really comes down to like our value system.
Right.
And we have to like intentionally and consciously create our own values, not what other people try to put values on us. Like, and he talks about like his parents were doctors, and so like he was going to be a doctor. Like that was the value system. Like, you're going to create wealth and you're going to be a doctor, but he didn't want to be a doctor, right?
Well, and thank God, specifically that Jay Shetty was went on a journey that was important to him to become who he was meant to be, right? Because we are beneficiaries. We benefit from his clarity.
Yeah,
We benefit from, I love that book. That's a great book.
it was a good book.
And he has, additional content that he puts out, huge value add. And the things that he's put out and shared, and whether it's through the book or the other, things that he does, his podcast, all the other things that he is adding so much value to so many more people than he would have touched if he would have gone down the path. And he went extreme, dude. He went from this very, conservative doctor family, and he went to be a monk. And I can imagine when you think about the difficulty as from his position, but also his parents, all the people that surrounded them and their network and the like-minded and all those folks are like, oh, your
You're
son's
gonna
a monk. Wow,
monk.
congratulations. Like that, you poor you. Like, what'd you do wrong? Where did
Yeah.
he go? You know what I mean? And his influence, I have no idea what his parents' names are. And I'm sure that they've, hopefully done doctoring things that have been very influential, impactful to people that they doctor. But I would argue that their reach, their impact, their cause for good has not been near the levels of Jay, right? And so I think, not that we all should strive that's his gift, and that's what he was created. That's who he was created to be, and he's using his gifts and his parents, not to minimize their gifts at all, but they're different. And if he did not choose to use his gifts, then we would be less rich as a result. And I
Yeah.
think it's important to highlight that, and like you said, that value, right? The values, spending time and self-awareness and creating your own values, like something that we think is extremely important, that is not time wasted, dude. And it can give you the path that you should pursue. And it also helps silence that noise and that saying. I had to look it up because it was bothering me, but it's buying things you don't need with money you don't have
Mm,
to impress people you don't like.
yeah.
And there's so much there's so much richness there, because how, when you think of it, not just money but capital, emotional capital, when you think of trying to live a life that
Pleasing
you
others.
think others want you to live, how much money, quote unquote money, how much capital are you expending, whether it's emotional or other, to be this thing, this person that, for people that you may not even like it's pretty, when you look at the people that you surround yourself with and you want to be with, that number is not a huge number, right? And so when you're always trying to, oh, I need to get more followers, I need to get, I look at some of these people that have tens of thousands, millions of followers, and you think about that, you're like, that it's because you're very clear on who you are. It's not for who they are, because it's impossible to make all those people happy all the time, and it shouldn't be the goal,
Yeah.
right? The goal should be to live your highest and best, understand how you were created, and then go from there. And a lot of times, certain this conversation's kind of wandered a bit, but it's all related in that a lot of times acknowledging that you're wrong about something, even the path that you're on, Hey, I'm on this path to be a doctor. Okay, why? Like challenge it. Okay, well, a lot of it has to do with the influence from my parents, and a lot of it has to do with this, that, and the other. Yeah, I don't think that's not right. That's not for me.
Yeah.
And it could open the door.
Well, that's what exactly what he says. Like Jay Shetty says, like we have to observe and evaluate, like i.e. reflect, right? And we have to create awareness. And we have to tune out all of the opinions. We have to tune out expectations. We have to tune out any obligations that are currently on us and the world around us. We have to tune all that stuff out and we have to truly reflect. And then we start to begin to hear ourselves and to figure out and curate our own values once we kind of push all that stuff out, right? And and then if you start to kind of surround yourself with people that are like-minded and have those kind of similar qualities, that's when those true values start to come out, right? And that's a big part of the Storehouse Mastermind. And we take a one part is reflection, right? We take a topic, let's say family, right? And we reflect on what that is and we create awareness around how do we
And to
value
be
our
clear,
family.
it's not one part is not reflection. One part of everything we talk about is
Yeah.
reflection.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the first part.
First
The
part.
first part of every single thing we discuss is a reflection period.
Yeah.
And what's awesome about it, what I love about it, is we share that reflection within the group, right? So everybody's reflecting, and we even do like to the level of we sit in silence on a Zoom call and reflect on a thing, and then we all come together and we talk about what our reflections revealed of that, whether it's family, faith, whatever it is. And in the reflection period, we are also exposed to that, what we talked about earlier. Nobody in that group is assuming, actually, what's awesome, I will tell you without any hesitation that I look at the group of men that we're surrounded by, the words ignorant, idiot, and evil don't ever
Never.
even, they never cross my mind. But it's also not a, none of us are like have the exact same definition, or the results of the reflection are not the same, and we may be vastly different.
Yeah, totally.
But what's awesome in that group is that because you don't come from a position of fear or these unfortunate assumptions, it opens your ears and your mind to be able to receive vastly differing points and perspectives, and you're like, wow, I never thought of it that way. And that has happened so many times for me personally that it has changed the way I look at these areas that are priorities in my life. Like, think about that. These areas in my life that I say are priorities, there are viewpoints and considerations and actions that I have embraced and implemented in my life that I never considered
Yep.
prior to those conversations.
And you're 43 years old.
43 years old. And I've said, more importantly, I've said these things are priorities in my life. And yet I never considered alternatives to what I had potentially, the path I've been going down.
Well, and
That's
that's
powerful.
totally powerful, man. And that's just like your actions tell the real story, right? Like the actions that you've done tell the real story, but those actions can change significantly once you have that kind of reflection and curate those like true down deep belief values. And it's essentially like taking a life audit. Like, I mean, I feel like that's what we're doing right now is auditing our current life and and then making it better. Like every week, we're reflecting, curating the true values with other people that might have a different opinion, maybe a more often than not a better opinion or a more right opinion, and I'm the wrong I'm the wrong one, right? And
Right.
and then taking action on those and becoming better every single day, and then having people that will lift you up and hold you to that. It's freaking rad, dude.
Dude, it's super rad. And a big part of that is the exposure to different, like that's one of the that is the biggest part, I think, to a lot of this change and a lot of this the becoming the men that we want to becoming better, it doesn't have to do with it never was about a lack of desire to do those things, nor was it a necessarily a lack of prioritization. But even your priorities, some of my priorities have changed because of some of the things that these men have talked about.
Yeah.
And so what's interesting is once you get to a place of accepting wrongness, and that doesn't have to look like self-deprecating, going into a conversation and being like, I'm so wrong all the time, and I know I have biases, and I probably, maybe I'm the idiot. Like, it's not that. It's
No.
going in with a group of like-minded individuals and being open to hearing something different, and then recognizing, oh, wow, I highly respect this individual, and and that's the power of a mastermind, right? Like, that's why you pay to be in a group of people like that, because these are not things that, we pay to be parts of other groups because of that, because of the exposure to different ideas in a group that has already been effectively been vetted, because they're there for a very specific purpose. So it's been vetted. So that you're going into the group you want to be part of. And then you're already in a position of being open to hearing differing opinions. And oftentimes, folks will say, have you considered? And usually the answer is no, or perhaps, and then they follow it with something, and you're like, huh, yeah, I just had not thought about that. It's not a lack of desire on my part. It's a lack of exposure.
Yeah.
And the exposure is the key. And the way you pour jet fuel on exposure is the intentionality of who you surround yourself with. Because if it's just a bunch of clowns, we're just hanging out and it's people that I don't necessarily respect their opinion on things, then I'm already going to I go in there with a bias. And that bias plays out by me closing my ears, not being receptive.
Yeah.
But if I know I'm going into a room of ninjas, well, dude, then you probably, no matter how good you are at kung fu or whatever, like, there's a good chance you're going to get kicked in the face, because they just know different and better potentially. And so you train and you get better, and you're intentional about it. And dude, it like this whole idea. And I think that's why also I think it's absolute lunacy. I think I cannot state more strongly. I think if your life is defined by these three assumptions, you're absolutely crazy and you're missing out on life. If you think people have different opinions than you because they are ignorant or idiots or evil, like, you should take a long look in the mirror and
Yeah.
recognize that
Do
you're
some
not
self
that smart.
reflection.
You're not that smart.
Yeah.
You're just not.
So here's what kind of want to end on this. Here's just one small example of a conversation that we had in one of our houses in the OG house. We're talking about family, and we were talking about kind of as a father, as a husband, what are the things that we're doing to get better? And one of the other members asked, well, have you ever defined your role? Like, what is your role, right? What's your role as the father of the family? What's your role as the husband in the family? And a lot of us were like, no, I've never actually written out and defined like what my role is. Am I to my wife, to my bride, am I a friend? Am I a lover? Am I a servant? Am I the leader? Like, what are those roles that you're playing? And what would it look like if you define those roles? Actually, like, get the definition of what a friend is, right? I'm a friend to my spouse. Well, what is a friend? What's the definition of a friend? And then, all right, well, now I got the definition of this friend. How what am I doing to play that role? And what does that look like? What are the action steps that I'm doing to play that role as a friend, to the best friend to my wife? And if you look at that and reflect on it, like, I'm not doing anything, right?
Well,
Like, I'm
because
just
usually you don't even know.
usually don't even know.
Because you're and to me it's interesting, because you look at, so like playing football all my life. This just kind of, as you were talking about it, I'm like, man, it's so interesting to me. I remember, shout out to Scotty Carr. I remember in high school. So I played outside linebacker. He was inside linebacker. He was way better at football than I was. And I remember a play, very vivid, like it was yesterday. And my role, my job was outside contain. That was my role. And I wasn't clear on it. I remember not being clear on it because it wasn't, the coaches hadn't coached me in a way that said, this is your thing. I thought my role was to make a tackle. That's what I thought. Okay. And so I'm on the outside. I see the ball going inside. I throw my guy and go to make a tackle. Scotty's the inside linebacker coming up. That's his gap. He
Yeah.
was going to make the tackle. He had a lot more tackles on it anyways. He was going to make that play and probably would have been a loss. But what happened was I threw my guy over here thinking I was throwing him. All that guy did was turn. The dude bounced outside, and now that tackle blocked both of us. I caused us, and that dude bounced and took off. Scotty's like, go to your spot,
Yeah.
know your role.
Didn't know your role.
I didn't know my role. And so why that's so important, like when I think about it now, you watch football with a bunch of dudes and they know the roles of the players on the field, and you get so mad when the safety doesn't fill his gap and you know that role. And it's completely inconsequential, dude. Like I could tell you the roles on a football field left to right, but that's not that important. It has no impact on my life.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell you my role in my household as I define it as a father. So I don't have, as you said earlier, the North Star. I don't have this guiding light that will tell me if I'm on track or not on track. And then I run that by my wife. What do you think my role is? What is the role that you envision me fulfilling? Because this is what I have. And she's like, dude, you're way off base, man. Like, I think
Could
it
be
should be
wrong.
this. Right. And then you have a conversation. You're like, well, this is why I think this. And you get to a place where now you have a playbook, dude. You have something that you can actually follow to achieve success and harmony in the household. And in the Bible talks about that. It's the body of Christ. We all have a role within the church. And if you're not plugged into the church, you may be an eyeball, you may be a finger, they're not more important. They're just different. And
Yeah.
what's your role? And if you don't show up, if you don't know your role and you don't show up, then the whole team suffers because you're not fulfilling, whether it's in the church, it's in your house, it's on the football field, whatever it is. And so if your house is important to you, and being a husband is important to you, and being a father is important to you, and being a friend is important to you, and you have no idea what that means or what it looks like, then how can you fulfill these roles in your life? It's a hugely important question that came up in the mastermind, and it blew my mind. It changed the way I thought about everything because it made me realize I'm kind of floating.
Yeah. So that one question in the one conversation caused us to go through an exercise together as a group. This exercise that we go through of reflection and execution and accountability, and then living it. And we put those into like a PDF, like a worksheet for you to go through as an exercise of writing down those roles as a father, as a husband, whatever you want, whatever role that you want to be playing, and defining those roles, and then writing out like what you should be doing to take action on, and then putting them on the calendar and actually act out those roles. And so we created this 2-page PDF, and we're going to give it out. Like we're going to hand it out to anyone who's interested in going through that exercise, and we're going to do a follow-on webinar on it because it was powerful. It was so impactful to us, and I think it's something, an exercise that you could do, in a morning. Take a little bit of time and go through, and it could change the way that you are showing up on a regular basis for your family, for your kids, for your wife, for in your work, whatever that role is that you want to be playing. So if you're interested, hey, we'll send you the PDF for free. You can email us at podcast@storehouse310.com. Again, podcast@storehouse310.com. You can put in the subject, know my role, or my role, or know your role, or something like that, right? And we'll send you that PDF. We're going to do a follow-on webinar about it. But that exercise just in itself is very self-explanatory. You read through that, write out your roles, 3 to 5 roles, define those roles, and then put action steps to those roles. It's powerful.
Super powerful. Love it.
Boom.
Boom.
And that's just a
Nice
taste. That's just like one little
little
one little
taste.
conversation
Yeah,
taste of
like
what the Storehouse
like an
Mastermind.
hors like an order. No, like if you're in Costco,
Uh-huh.
they give you like that little, and you're
Oh
like,
yeah,
"Ooh,
like
that's
a little
good.
taster.
That's good. That's good."
I'm gonna end with
Uh,
a really deep question for you.
yeah,
My son asked me this. I was going potty and he interrupted my potty time because that's what
yeah,
kids do, right?
yeah,
And and he asked, "Hey, Dad, does God go poop?"
yeah. That is a very deep question, and
Yeah.
I would say no.
Okay.
Um, but I do think God has an incredible sense of humor,
Yeah. He does.
incredible sense of humor, and so that's where I think things like farts are born because they're funny.
They are funny.
That's a great question, very deep.
Very deep.
And these are also things that we contemplate in the Storehouse Mastermind, like the very important things of life,
Yeah.
like like pooping.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right. Hey,
Good
ladies
stuff,
and gents,
friend.
hope this was powerful. It's been powerful to us for sure. And we didn't even come up with it. We kind of came up with it, but it was from some other amazing dudes in the Storehouse Mastermind that helped us along the way. Um, Email us podcast at storehouse310.com. Get that free PDF. Go through that exercise and join us on a webinar. We'll go through that a little bit more in detail coming soon. And know your role. Go fill the storehouse.
Know your role. Get it. Make it a great day.
See
See ya.
ya.
Thanks for listening to Filling the Storehouse. If you enjoyed our show, please subscribe and share it with someone you love. And if you really felt inspired, leave a 5-star review so we could continue to grow and help other Christian entrepreneurs fill their storehouse. If you're interested in creating financial freedom through real estate investing, be sure to check out our website at storehouse310turnkey.com. We'd love to serve you through our platform of building the kingdom. Just click on the contact link and we'll reply to you as soon as we can. Again, thanks so much for listening. Now go fill your storehouse and make it a great day.